Hi everyone, welcome to the podcast. If you're watching us from the YouTubes, welcome to Everything Mackenzie. It's always a pleasure to have you here. If you don't know me by now, I'm Marlies Mackenzie, and if you're new here, welcome. Please do be sure to subscribe, to like, and to share one of the videos you really like. Share it with your people. It might be very beneficial. So yo man, I'm still like very shy and stuff. So we're here for the book review, second part of the book review by Viola Davis, titled Finding Me. So the previous the previous episode, I think we left on page, I'm gonna tell you now, on a quote from page 120. So I already did explain that I won't be going through the entire book, but on it, this is not necessarily like a traditional book review, in the sense that I'm just looking at specific quotes and we are continuing from that, or rather I'm just deriving meaning from that, or expanding on that, or just talking to how it speaks to me and how it might translate to other people as well. So essentially, that is what we'll be doing. This is not going to be a very long video, I hope. So we're going to be continuing from page 165. No, I'm lying. You know when you highlight stuff and you realize that no, actually, yeah, I did highlight, but I didn't highlight a quote. So you're like, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild because like, this is not what I wanted to share with the people. But yeah. So what I wanted to thingy was, because like also in the previous episode, we did talk about how a lot of people come from a poverty background or a disadvantaged background. So still continuing with the theme, but hoping to find silver lining, of course, because eventually she does find herself. So the quote on page 175, that, or rather the piece I want to read from page 155, which is the quote that we will be looking into for the context or for the purposes of this video. It says, me, or asks rather, me? And she answers, I just wanted to work. I didn't want to go back to Rhode Island. I compared going back to death. The reason I highlighted this and why it touched me so much is because a lot of people, we don't want to go back to where we come from. One of my favorite poets, Manaka, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, says that he doesn't want to go back to the four walls of poverty. So already that kind of like gives you a depiction or an image of the house he came from, the home he came from, the tiny space he came from. And it's like every great person, every person who is now a success or has come somewhere and is in a position where they are comfortable and content and happy and proud of themselves, come from a disadvantaged background. Of course, this is not the case with everyone, but with most people, and we can't overlook that. So another reason I specifically looked at this is because I often have conversation with some of my friends, and we talk about how some of them would rather struggle at home, and how personally I would rather struggle elsewhere than struggle at home, because I already know what I want. I've already decided that going back home, in the sense that going to live with my parents again, is somewhat of a last resort for me. It is a safety net, because I know that I have a place and I can always go back home, and I have enough food at home. I have everything I need. Everything I need is provided for. However, I want better for myself. However, I want to better everyone else's life as well. And that specifically my hometown is not where I necessarily want to be. Not that there isn't anything, there just isn't much for me there. But also it's a matter of perspective. It's also about how I speak about how I would rather go struggle in Europe than struggle in South Africa, essentially. So I could expand on this, but then I think I don't necessarily want to, unless that's something you want to have an entire podcast on, since I already did mention in the previous episode as well that most of the contents of this book are honestly just podcast worthy. Like, we could have a lengthy conversation about how she just said there were 10 people in a room. Essentially, that was supposed to be funny. So the second one is, or the second one for today rather, is that life is happening as your career is happening. Reason I highlighted this is because oftentimes when we are faced with death, so that's what she's talking about, right? Okay, essentially that also where the story leads up to. See, I actually do cool book reviews because then I also don't like give you spoilers. But anyway, what this just highlighted for me was, or rather what it reminded me of, was how oftentimes when people pass on, or when we experience death in in families or wherever, we somewhat expect life to stop, to pause a bit, but we don't realize that you are so insignificant. Like, compared, I'm sorry to say this the way I said it, but like, there's so much happening. We are not the most important things in the universe. We are not the most important beings in the universe or anything like that. There's so much happening. Time waits for no man, essentially. So, you know, there's a saying that they say, and it's something that I've actually, like, every time when things go weird, I'm just like, yeah, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. So even if you are making plans, even if you have a to-do list, so one of my mentors, I suppose we could call, we had a meeting the other day with a group of other people that it's basically like a supervisor type vibe situation, because I'm volunteering for the HIV unit at campus. So yes, I will be distributing condoms. Yes, I will be teaching people about safe sex. Yes, we will be doing all of those positive things. Yeah, teaching people who are not abstaining how to protect themselves or do what they do safely, essentially. So anyway, what she said, because that was not the point. The point is, what she said the other day was that if you go according to a to-do list, you might miss out on some things, because you need to be flexible. Yes, it's good to have plans in place, but you need to know how to maneuver around if things don't go the way they're supposed to go. So now, if I'm supposed to be shooting at 10 and I know that my shoot is going to go on for 3 hours, do I shoot and put it on pause when the power goes off, or do I wait for the power to come back type situation? So what she said here, that life is happening as a career is happening, is that her career was going extremely well, but everything else in her life was going sideways. And I think that that is sometimes what we experience in our daily lives. You might be at work and you're excelling in your career. You might be in varsity or in school and you're excelling in your academics, but your personal life is very crappy. Your personal life is very weird. So essentially, that is just why I highlighted that, because things are always happening. Life is always happening. Life is never not happening. And life can happen in a positive way. Life can happen in a negative way. And I think we have assumed that whenever we say that life is happening, we mean it negatively. And it's so weird, because like, as humans, we are accustomed to like complaining, to looking at the negative and all of that. And when you find positive people, you find that they're toxically positive or overtly positive, and it's also problematic in itself. So yeah, man, I found like that was a very cool quote. That was a very cool quote. By the way, if you're enjoying this video now, please do like, please do share, and if you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe. Boo! It's like one of the it's like one of those YouTube videos and then like you get an ad. Not me talking about YouTube as well. I'm on YouTube myself. Another one I wanted to read to you is, you make it out and you go back in to pull everyone else out. This is on page 199. She says, you make it out and you go back to pull everyone else out. So now, This is, remember, this is at the point where she's made it in her career, like established herself. She's still making it, but she's established herself in her career. She's making bank and all of that. So now she has to go pull everyone out. And this somewhat reminds me of black tax, which is what we call it in South Africa most. Where after you get your qualification, if you're looking to go into 9 to 5, or rather, let me not limit it to a specific field, and let's just say once you make it and you're at a position where you're financially able to accommodate or cater to your needs, and that is enough, and you still have abundance, or you still have some amount of money left, you now have to go and like help everyone else in your family out and take them out of poverty, or even if they're not poor, but give back essentially. So now you can already imagine that in her context, this was a pretty big deal, because mind you, imagine you don't have children of your own, right? And I realize that this is something a lot of people go through. People don't have children of their own, but back home they have about 10 other people depending on them, and those 10 other people are offsprings of other people, and now they have to assume that responsibility, because the people who brought those people into the world cannot take care of their kids, or they're suffering from substance abuse or from something else. So you can already imagine the toll it must take on you, or it must have on you, to be the one person who has to go back and pull out other people. So again, of course, going back to positivity and negativity, advantage and disadvantage, this is essentially, holistically, this is a positive thing to want to do, to want to go take people out of poverty. But at what point do you digress? At what point do you look back? At what point do you realize that I cannot do this? I have to cater to myself, and yeah, I want to help these people, but I don't want to go fish for them. I want to teach them to fish for themselves, which is something that she kind of does get into. But I mean, if you're interested, you will get the book yourself. But I'm kidding. I read the book so you wouldn't have to. Actually, no, I read the book so you would read the book as well. Another one I wanted to read out, because like I said, I made like a couple of notes. Listen to this one. My biggest discovery was that you can literally recreate your life. You can redefine it. You don't have to live in the past. I found that not only did I have fight in me, I had love. And speaking about how not only did you have fight, but that she had love. I remember, I think I was watching a movie or a series, and the character said that, or the actor said that, for as long as I have love, or rather for as long as I know how to love, I know how to live or have a life, or something like that. And the only reason it was so profound for me and to me is because she eventually now realizes, as she's finding herself, this is towards the end of the book anyway, so already, of course, there has to be a conclusion, and you're expecting that this person finds themselves. So reason this kind of like spoke to me is because like now she's getting to a point where she realizes that, yo bro, I've been holding on to the past for way too long. I can't be holding on to the past no more type situation. I need to let go, because life happens to everyone. Life does just not happen to me. It did not just happen to me. Other people get have bad experiences daily. People have positive experiences daily. I'm not necessarily that special. Do you get my drift here? So that just like in a sense, or rather not even in a sense, just directly pointed out that yes, feel your emotions. Yes, go through the waves of your emotions. Yes, experience all of it. We love it for you. Experience all of it. We want you to feel it. We want you to be in tune with your emotions. But don't dwell onto that. Don't have that be your personality type situation. Just allow yourself to feel, but allow yourself to let go as well. Allow yourself to heal. Allow yourself to move on, which is essentially my biggest takeaway from this specific quote. So, like I said, this was not going to be a very long episode. The final one says that the purpose of life is to live it. You know why that's cool? You know why that's cool? It is cool because too often a lot of us live our lives for other people. A lot of us are accompanying other people. A lot of us are not the main characters in our lives. I was having a conversation with my so my friends and I, like, we have a very broken sense of humor. We have a very dark sense of humor. We make fun of like really sad situations, and most times it's matters pertaining our own personal lives, so we don't really like see it as problematic. But the fact that I had to explain that before I get to the point is so wild. It's so wild. But anyway, the other day we were with a friend. Everyone had finished what they were doing, and then what they were doing on campus, and then now we were going to one of my friends' place. They stay where I stayed last year. So okay, fine, chill. And we talk about how this person is going to wash dishes before anything else happens. And then we're like, so at this point, my brother, you are the main character and we are supporting actors. And I was like, no, wait, supporting actor sounds like an extra, but then an extra just sounds, but then supporting actor sounds much better than an extra, but essentially they're the same thing. And I was like, no way, I am in this situation, maybe I'm a co-star, but like that is not necessarily the point. The point was, yes, we're all main character, but it was just like show, and I'm glad like everyone just like kind of like caught on, so I didn't have to finish what I was saying, essentially, because we were just it was essentially, which is also something Dr. Hanan on the Garrett Cliff show usually talks about how some people are just so accommodating of everyone else, and they don't realize how problematic it is, how some people are just accompanying other people's lives or accompanying other people in their lives, and they don't have main character vibes. They don't have a sense of self. Because if, let's say, you know, people who don't plan their days and then they just go about, now I'm spontaneous or whatever, but then if I'm like, okay, let's go to the mall, they come to the mall. Okay, help me do this, they help me do that. Okay, let's do this. Like, that is good, but essentially it can get negative. Again, not necessarily the best example I could provide you with, but I hope that you do get the gist of what I'm saying when I say that a lot of people are just accompanying other people, and a lot of people are living their lives for other people. I think we could equate this to, let's say now your mother wanted you to, or rather your parents wanted you to study medicine because they wanted to study medicine, but they could not study medicine, and your passion lies with finance, but you can't pursue a career in finance because you are trying to please your parents and studying medicine. Essentially, it goes back to that you are not living your life because you want to live your life. I have these days where I wake up and I don't want to do anything, and I'm like, okay, I'm not existing. But then I remember, of course, that ayo, I'm trying to get somewhere, so I'm going to do something. But then essentially the point is, those days where I feel like I don't want to exist, that also is living. Don't mind me, I have eczema, so it's a bit itchy. And I'm like, some days you just don't want to exist. But you need to remember that the purpose, if you haven't found your calling, if you haven't found your purpose, if you have no idea what your purpose is, remember this: the purpose of life is to live it. It is to go through every day and do something positive, contribute to society positively. And with that being said, I am sending you a lot of love. I am sending you mega energy. I am sending you lovely. And when I say I'm sending you energy, I don't mean it in a chakra type of way. I am sending you energy, like really, because I know I want to sleep right now, but I gotta go fight and do schoolwork. So I'm sending you a lot of love, I'm sending you a lot of light, and I hope that you're well. If you did enjoy this video, if there's anything you want to say, please do the things that need to be done in the comment. Let me know how you enjoyed this episode. If you watched on Spotify or any other podcasting platforms, please do be sure to give us a rating. And if you are listening from Apple Podcasts, or what do you call it, Apple, where you get your Apple Podcast type things, just give us a review. Say what you want to say, tell me what you thought. And yeah, I'm so tired. Bye.